I'm here with my 2014 Toyota Prius that I got for $2,000, and you might think that that is a fantastic deal, but I kind of got screwed on this car. The first problem was that the head gasket had failed, and that was how I got the car. The owner was at the dealership and he was going to have the car repaired because it had a check engine light, and it turned out to be the head gasket. When the dealership told him that it was going to be $6,000 to repair the car, and the car was only worth about $6,000, he decided to simply trade it in, and they offered him $1,500. That's when I spoke up and said, hey, I'll give you $2,000. I'm pretty curious myself. I'd like to find out what this Prius is all about. And so I purchased a Toyota Prius for $2,000. I went to the scrapyard and got a low mileage JDM engine for $1,000. I swapped that engine in. I put in a new Toyota OEM water pump and then all fresh fluids, and I thought that I had a very inexpensive, very reliable Toyota. And then the worst thing happened. I was driving down the highway and I completely lost the brakes in the car. The dashboard lit up with a bunch of brake lights, the braking pressure went out, and I almost rear-ended the car in front of me when they had a panic stop because I simply couldn't stop the Prius in time. Now, fortunately, there was an emergency lane and I was able to swerve around the car, and I got the car towed home, and I looked this up online, and it turns out that the brake failure in this generation of Toyota Prius is fairly common. The brake actuator will fail and you can lose your brakes entirely like I did. I would have made a video last year talking about how great this car was, and now I'm making a video about being a little bit cautious with these cars because I want you to be safe. So be extra careful. If you're thinking about purchasing a Generation 3 Toyota Prius, be extra careful to make sure that that braking actuator recall was done. There is a big safety campaign around it, and Toyota will only honor it 10 years after the sale date of the car or 150,000 miles. And in my case, although I fell within the 10-year mark, I did not fall within the mileage mark. And so I had to pay for those repairs myself, and I ended up doing it myself. So it wasn't terrible, but it is a fairly skilled job. So this is the old actuator. This is what it looks like. Your brake pedal connects here, and there is a pump that provides pressure to the brakes. This is known as a brake-by-wire system. It's much different than the systems that you're probably used to that run off of the engine's vacuum, and that's because this is a hybrid gas and electric powertrain. So when the engine isn't running and there's no vacuum, we still need a way to stop the car, and that's where this comes in. So this failed, and I had to replace it, and it involves a little bit of programming, so I had to use a special tool. The most interesting thing about this when I was replacing this part is that I had to use the computer to bleed the brakes rather than a pressure bleeder, which is what I normally use when I am working on a car. So interesting piece here, very expensive, and something to be aware of from a safety standpoint, but this definitely caught me off guard. After all the stuff I've done to this car, the window tint, the floor mats, the engine, and this, I'm probably around $6,000 into the car, and it's only worth about $7,000. If I include the cost of my labor now, I am definitely losing money on this car. But the Toyota Prius does have some redeeming qualities. I do use it as a shop vehicle when I don't need a full-size truck. In the trunk here, I have a liner that's similar to a truck bed, and I use this for transporting small engines and also transmissions. You can fit a transmission this way, or you can fit an engine this way if you fold the seats down. There's quite a bit of room in here. So because of this hatchback design, this is a very useful car. Now coming around to the back here, I have a dog hammock in here to protect the seats. So the seats are clean underneath, and the dog can keep all of his dirt up on there. And then I have the rubber floor mats on the floor to protect the carpet. Up front, I have the rubber floor mats. You can see I have some grease on here because I do use this as a shop vehicle. Coming into the car, you notice that we have a JBL sound system. We also have keyless entry, so if I close everything, I can lock the car by touching that. I can open the car by putting my finger back here. And then coming into the car, I have a push button for starting it. So that powers the car up, and then we would go ahead and put it in drive. Down here, we have seat heaters, kind of in an awkward location. Lots of plastic in the interior, but the seats are a nice fake leather material. And this does have over 200,000 miles, so it has held up quite well. We're gonna go ahead and start it up. So foot on the brake, and then I'll hit the power button here. I wanna show you what comes up on the screen, so I'll put my phone here to film it. So power button once, you see the Prius come to life. I'm gonna lower the dog's window back here, and you can see that it's a one touch down. So now he has his air. We're gonna put our seatbelt on. And real quick, I can flip through the display here to change to different modes. You can see different things. The Eco Savings record there keeps a record of your fuel expense, which is good for people that have no idea how to budget. This screen is kind of useless. This one's actually sort of useful if I put it in drive. My battery gauge is on the left there, so it's quickly going to go out of EV mode. Now the engine started, and that battery will charge up. Now if we come over to this side, I have my steering wheel controls here, and you can see that all the controls show up on the screen like so, and when I take my fingers off, they go away. That's the basics with the display there. It's really pretty limited. This is my radio here. It doesn't have Apple CarPlay, but it does have Bluetooth, and it does work fairly well. The apps do not work. It used to have a way to connect to your phone. There used to be an app in the App Store that worked with this. It doesn't work anymore. It's too dated. So you can connect this by Bluetooth, or you can connect it through the cord in the center console. But the audio works well, and also the hands-free Bluetooth calls work pretty well. Your AC controls are here, and then your shifter is this little dongle thing here. Not great. Down here we have our heated seats. Only one setting on that. It's pretty warm. It'd be nice if it had levels. Driving characteristics are very uninspiring. This is one of the most boring cars you can drive. On the positive side, it's very quiet, it's very comfortable, the seating position is upright, and the seats are very comfortable, but handling wise, not much to offer in that regard. It's really just an appliance. And when we get out to the open road up here and I floor it, you'll see just how slow this car is. Now, one important thing about driving a Prius on the public roads is that everybody hates the Toyota Prius. So it's not uncommon to get people that are really pissed off around you. I've been flipped off because I've been going too slow or some other perceived violation. If you're in a position where you need to save money on gas and you still need a car with some utility in order to move stuff, the Prius is a great option because of the hatchback. On the open highway, I can get up to 50 miles to the gallon, but here in the hills, I end up getting more like 38. And that's just the nature of this area. No matter what car I'm in, I never hit the fuel economy targets that the manufacturers suggest. But when I get out to the flat areas, this car does deliver on fuel economy, and it is a great way to save money on fuel. But you have to think about it. If you're gonna buy a car for a short term and you wanna save money, and you're comparing this to something like a Toyota Corolla, you might be better off with a Toyota Corolla. The brake system failure, that's a 4-figure repair. The head gasket is a 4-figure repair, and the hybrid battery is another 4-figure repair. And if you're hit with all of those expenses, the Toyota Prius quickly becomes a bad value from a used perspective. But if you can find one used where all of that work has already been done, it might be a great car. And so with what I've done to the car, with the new engine and the new brake system, I can probably go another couple 100,000 miles without having to worry too much about those systems. The next thing that's gonna go is the hybrid electric battery, and I'll replace that when it's time. And I have gone a little bit further with this. I did put it into Excel, I did put it into a spreadsheet, and I calculated the payback, and I figured that if I kept this car long enough, yes, it was worth it. Not only is this car better in its safety ratings than the Toyota Corolla, but I can carry a lot more stuff. In fact, there are many times where I will use the Toyota Prius instead of using my Ford Raptor when I need to move something at the shop. And it ends up saving me a pretty significant amount of money because of the fuel economy. So for me, because I work on cars and I could fix it, this was worthwhile. But for someone who's on a budget, it's very important for them to do their homework and make sure that the Prius that they buy used has been well maintained and it doesn't have anything major coming up. That is all I have for you on this Toyota Prius. Thank you for watching, and as always, make sure that you enjoy your car.